Welcome, one and all, to another episode of Pacific 414 episode review. I am your host, Mike, and in this episode, I'm going to be reviewing episode number 2 of WandaVision, which was also available yesterday, along with episode 1 of the new Marvel Studios series taking place in the Marvel Cinematic Universe, WandaVision. So, episode 2 starts off with Vision and Wanda getting ready for this town talent show, and they're going to be doing a magic act. And, you know, there's a scene where Wanda comes out with this cabinet that they're going to be pulling the magic act with, and, they're going over what's going to be going on in the magic act. And, you know, Wanda demonstrates how the cabinet works, and of course, Vision being Vision says how easily humans are fooled by such tricks like this, with magic shows anyway, fooling the mind into believing something that's obviously an illusion. And, that's actually what Vision's going to be going by as a stage name in this particular point and part, I should say, is he calls himself Illusion. And, you know, Wanda and Vision, they're trying to make a good impression on the neighborhood, being new to the neighborhood and everything. And, you know, Vision's going to be going to a neighborhood watch meeting. Meanwhile, Wanda's going to be going to this committee meeting with all the other housewives. And what ends up taking place before that is Wanda and Vision are in their bedroom for the night, and just like in any classic 1950s, early 1960s television show, Wanda and Vision are in separate beds, but at one point there's this thumping that they're hearing. They're not sure what it is, and Wanda uses her powers to turn the lights on and off, and she asks Vision to check and see what's outside causing the thumping noise. And of course, Vision looks outside and he says, I see nothing but your lovely rose bushes. And then goes back to bed. They hear a noise again. And this time, Wanda uses her powers to bring the beds together to create a master bed. And, you know, they start going back and forth saying, who's going to check and see what's going on. And Wanda hints that Vision should be doing it. And of course, nothing really of note actually happens because, at least in my view, because then what you see is Vision and Wanda going under the covers, so you know what's going to be going on there. Well, it's the next day, and yes, like with all my episode reviews, I know I should have said this before, but like with all my episode reviews, I will always contain spoilers in my reviews, or my overview, my synopsis, whatever you want to call it, my reaction. But anyways, the next morning, Vision and Wanda are going to be going to their separate meetings. Vision going to the neighborhood watch meeting. Meanwhile, Wanda's going to be going to the committee meeting. But before Wanda goes to the committee meeting, she hears a noise outside. And when she steps outside, she starts looking around. She doesn't see anything. Then all of a sudden, she walks toward the bushes, and you see this toy helicopter lying in the bushes. Now, what's different is while Wanda and everything else are monochrome, because, the series, again, is paying homage to those late 1950s, early 1960s television shows. Well, while Wanda and everything around her is, monochrome, this helicopter is in color. But this helicopter's color, some might say it's Vision's colors. Some could even say it's Iron Man's colors. And, then as she's looking at it, Agnes, her next door neighbor to the right, comes and says, "Are you ready to go to this committee meeting?" Because she's going to be meeting the head of this committee, this neighborhood committee. And the head of this neighborhood committee, her name is Dottie. And, everything goes through her first. She's the alpha in this whole situation. You don't go above her head. You have to clear things with her before you can improve. So she's definitely in charge. Definitely, the person who, when you think of this committee, that's the first person you think of. But of course, Agnes, is telling Wanda about Dottie and saying, about her Dottie's rose bushes, and she makes this little remark saying how the rose bushes better grow, otherwise Dottie will do whatever. But anyways, you know, Agnes and Wanda greet Dottie and the women that are coming out of the house on their way to the committee meeting, and you know they're on their way to the committee meeting. Meanwhile, Vision's at the neighborhood watch meeting, and when he gets there, you know, he feels awkward, and rightfully so, because here he is, a machine, and he's not really sure what to do. But he's there at the neighborhood watch meeting. He eventually sits down at the table and tries to get the lay of land, find out how they exactly run their neighborhood watch. Who does the patrols, who you know communicates with the police if there's things going on, burglaries, graffiti, that sort of stuff. Well, Norm from the last episode, the guy who didn't impress Mr. Hart and was fired, he's there, and he offers some pastries, and of course, Vision turns it down, says, "I don't eat." And the guys that are around the table, Sherman and a few other guys, they look at Vision, perplexed, saying, "Wait a minute, what do you mean you don't eat?" He says, "Oh no, I don't eat in between meals," is what Vision says. He says, "But when I do, I'm a regular eating machine." So then what ends up happening is, they're just having talks around the table, and sorry. But anyways, Vision says that Norm's a communist. Actually, wait a minute. I've just messed up two of the characters. I'm sorry. But anyways, Vision says that Norm is a communist, and of course they all look at each other and they start laughing. And then what ends up happening is Sherman offers Vision some gum, some Big Red. So Vision starts chewing the gum, and then Norm pats Vision on the back, and of course the gum goes down because Vision ends up swallowing it. and it ends up going into Vision's internal systems and tangling up his systems. Meanwhile, at the committee meeting, you have Wanda there, you have Agnes there, you have Dottie there, you have another new character, Geraldine, there, and everybody's giving their presentation, at least a few characters, and Dottie's keeping everyone in line. You only speak when you're supposed to speak. You don't speak ahead of Dottie. That kind of thing. And next we see is Wanda's cleaning up all the plates from this meeting, and she and Dottie are talking, and there's music playing on the radio, and one of the songs playing is "Help Me Rhonda" by the Beach Boys. And as the lyrics are going, and again, like I said before, there are always going to be spoilers in these episode reviews as I'm talking about the episode. But as "Help Me Rhonda" is playing, you all of a sudden hear a voice saying, "Wanda, who's doing this to you, Wanda? Wanda." And the voice gets a little bit clearer and then a little more clear. And to me, it sounded like Rhodey trying to communicate with Wanda. But what ends up happening is, as Wanda's distracted by this voice coming out of the radio over "Help Me Rhonda," there's Dottie right across from her. She's holding a glass. The glass breaks. It cuts Dottie's hand, and we get a shot of Dottie's hand, and her hand's red. So again, everything's monochrome except for the hand, which is blood red. And Dottie says, "How do you get a blood stain out of white linen? You do it yourself." And then next we cut to Wanda is at the talent show, and she's waiting on Vision. Of course, she doesn't know where Vision is because their act is supposed to be going on. And all of a sudden you see Vision come into frame, and he's walking off kilter. He's got a hick in his step, or a hitch in his step, as it was said in this episode, and as it's always been said in shows like this, and even you probably had some people say, "What, you got a hitch in your step?" He's just not himself. So they get on stage, they start pulling their magic act. They both start using their abilities to the dismay of the onlookers. Dottie, Mrs. Hart, you've got Agnes there, Sherman, and Wanda uses her powers at one point when Vision's floating in midair, and produces a pulley system to make it look like Vision's being lifted up off the ground through this pulley system. There's even another part where Vision goes up to Sherman, and he's doing, the card game, guessing Sherman's card. And he's going, "Is this your card? Is this your card? Is this your card? Is this your card? This your card? This your," you know, that gag. And finally, the last card is Sherman's card. And then what it ends up happening is he's supposed to be pulling a rabbit out of this hat. Now, this rabbit belongs to Agnes. And I believe the rabbit's name was Senior Scratchy. Well, I'm just saying that just to let you all know that Senior Scratchy at one point gets out of the area that he was supposed to be in because, again, Vision's supposed to pull him out of the top hat because both he and Wanda are wearing top hats in this act. And what ends up happening instead is they bring out the cabinet and they want to pull that act, but Vision says, "Well, if I can't pull the rabbit out of the hat, maybe I'll pull the hat out of myself." And of course, Wanda's eyes get wide because she can't believe that Vision's about to do what he's about to do right in front of people. even though they've already used their powers numerous times. And after Vision pushes that hat through its stomach and comes out its back, Wanda uses her powers to reveal behind a curtain mirrors and saying that's how the trick was pulled off. So then it gets to the cabinet, and you know, that's not about to be pulled off without some kind of hitch. And what they end up doing is Wanda uses her powers, and Geraldine, who we met earlier in the episode, appears inside the cabinet through the magic act. And after the magic act is all over, Wanda and Vision are praised. They win a first place trophy. They're back at home, talking about the events, and this is after Wanda is able to get the gum out of Vision's system by again using her powers, but this time it was behind the curtain. But anyways, they're at home and they're talking, and at one point everything goes from black and white to Technicolor, and you see a shot of Vision, you see everything coming into color. You see Wanda, everything's coming into color. And as she's turning, she's got a baby bump. And what ends up happening then is Wanda steps outside because she's hearing a noise. And there's this beekeeper. But you see everything except the face. And it turns to Wanda. And then Wanda rewinds everything back to the previous moment to reset everything, pretty much. And then that's when the episode ends. So, what did I think of this episode? Well, I thought this episode, took a lot from Bewitched. Not only, you know, in the aspect where it was Darren and Samantha always used her powers, when people weren't looking, or to try to set things right. And of course, there was always some odd explanation as to what was going on. And you know, Darren, well, he was really he was a buffoon, and you know, he was none the wise to what was really going on, because really it was Samantha trying to keep everything going, everything aligned. So definitely in this episode, Wanda was definitely filling in that role, and Vision was definitely doing the role of Darren, and of course, the baby bump are Vision and Wanda at some point gonna have their own baby Tabitha. Who knows? And even in the opening credits, it was done in animation, you know 2D cell animation. Now whether they actually use cells, doubtful. But it was that 2D cell style animation, and it was much in the vein of the Bewitched opening, or even I Dream of Jeannie. And that was a nice little nod. Again, there's still nods to Leave It to Beaver and a few other shows I'm probably you know missing out. But all in all, it wasn't a bad episode, to be honest. I mean, again, it still was paying tribute to those shows from that era. And of course, some might go, yeah, but the shows from that era, especially when Wanda and Vision go into the covers in their bedroom, you wouldn't have had that on TV shows back then because of all the censorship of things that you couldn't have on TV. As a matter of fact, in the original Star Trek series, because the NBC executives didn't want to see a belly button on screen because that was considered taboo at the time, they had to cover up belly buttons most of the time, especially on the women. And again, this show pays tribute to those late 50s, early 1960s sitcoms, and it's done so in two episodes. Now, I don't know, I'm just going out on a limb here, but possibly in episode three, will it inch more toward, those mid 60s, early 70s sitcoms? We'll see. Because there are seven episodes left after this one, and that will air on Friday on Disney Plus. And I am gonna continue to watch it because now with these two episodes, it's got me intrigued as to you know what's actually going on. If you don't mind, I'm gonna go ahead and speculate what's going on, and this is just my thought, and I could be completely wrong. I've been wrong before. But what I think is going on is this is Wanda's way of coping with the loss of vision after what happened to him in Infinity War, after Thanos took the Mind Stone out from his forehead and killed him. So I really think that this is Wanda trying to cope and deal with that loss, and the only way she can do it right now is by using her powers to go into this altered state where she can be with him again. That's what I think is going on. And there could be other things going on, especially with that voice saying, Wanda, who's doing this to you, Wanda? Which again sounded like Rhodey, Don Cheadle. So you know we'll see. But that's part of the intrigue of the series, is to see what's actually going on, who's controlling this game, in other words. So all in all, I thought this was a good episode. And I mean, I'm not expecting much from any of these Marvel Studios TV series. But it's different, and it's definitely different. It's definitely you know got its throwback to those older sitcoms, but I like how they sprinkle in a little bit of the current MCU to let you know that you know it's still taking place in modern times, but we've got maybe not so much of a deep story going on, but we've got a story going on, and we're just gonna you know peel it layer by layer like an onion. So I will definitely be giving another episode review for WandaVision come Friday, and at about 9 o'clock tonight, 9 o'clock Eastern, I will be continuing my Star Wars Jedi Fallen Order gameplay. It'll be part 8 of that gameplay. And then tomorrow night, I'm going to be doing, along with TKO, Sunday Night Frontiers. And we're going to be trying out a new game on the live stream for the first time. A game that neither one of us have played. So you get to watch us, you know, stumble through this game, or maybe we'll catch on to it real quick. Who knows? But you'll get to watch that, and I might even do more Star Wars Jedi Fallen Order gameplay before Sunday Night Frontiers. I haven't quite decided yet. But overall, getting back to WandaVision, it is what it is, but I don't hate it. That's for sure. You know, I again wasn't expecting much from the series, but I do like the fact that it does pay some homage to those early sitcoms. And yeah, it does poke fun at them. And why not? That was the style of television back when those shows were produced. But, you've got to give those writers of those shows credit, because when you look at a lot of those shows where it was the husband always going to work and the wife keeping everything at home, it was usually the wife that kept everything in order on those shows. I mean, yeah, Lucy always had her schemes, and you know always did something. Who could forget, Vita Benjamin, or the time she showed up at one of Ricky's band rehearsals and she wasn't supposed to be there, or even where they were working at the candy factory, they being Ethel and Lucy, and the belt's going faster than they can keep up, and they started eating all the candy. But you know, I I do I like the fact that they pay homage to classic television. You know, maybe some of the commercials, you know, they're an exaggeration of the commercials from back then. You know, some you could say they're not so much of an exaggeration. They pretty much nail it, but yeah, it's an exaggeration of those commercials, in my opinion. And as you saw before this episode began, you know, my thoughts, my views on this episode, can change, and this isn't anyone else's opinion. It's just my opinion, my take on what I saw in the episode. So if you like it, thank you very much. If you don't like it, that's fine too. But if you could do me a favor, I will bring it up here. But anyways, as you can see at the bottom of your screen, you can follow me on Facebook at Facebook, YouTube / Twitch. That's the Facebook group. And you can also follow me on Instagram at Pacific_414. And of course on Twitter at Pacific414. And if you like what you saw here, or you like the content that I have on the YouTube channel, or the content that I have on the Twitch channel, please subscribe to the YouTube channel, follow the Twitch channel, like the video, give it that thumbs up, and share the video if you'd like. And if you have any comments or suggestions, I'd appreciate that too. Now, I will say certain things that I'm doing on the channel, I already have my mindset on how I want to do it, but I appreciate, any advice, or, you know, any sort of feedback that I can get from anyone who watches these videos. So I'm going to go ahead and wrap this one up. Hope you all liked what you saw. I know it's a little rough. When aren't my reviews a little rough? I do apologize about that, but it is what it is. Hopefully we'll excuse me. Hopefully over time I'll get better. Of course, come baseball season, we'll see. We'll see once I start doing the box score. And as I've said before, the box score is the main show on this channel, but I like throwing in other things too, other things that I like. So that's why you get Pacific414 episode reviews. You've already gotten 2 Pacific414 movie reviews. I do plan on doing a movie review of Big Lebowski. I just haven't started it yet. And of course, anything else I decide that I want to share with you, my followers and subscribers, that I think you'll enjoy. So I'm going to go ahead and wrap up this episode. Hope you all have a good rest of your Saturday evening. And if you'd like, come back and join me on the Pacific414 Twitch and YouTube channel tonight at 9 Eastern for continuation of Star Wars Jedi Fallen Order gameplay. Thank you all very much. I will see you later.